Bobby Rempton from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome you to the really big barbecue central show.
Ooh, this is nice!
And this is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, also known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. And while it's not necessarily the exact Tuesday night live fire fun and frivolity, it is going to be a much familiar pace and guest and topic and all that fun stuff, except there is indeed no show on Tuesday night. So you're hearing this part Wednesday morning. You will hear a second part on Thursday. I will do my damnedest to make sure that Best Moments show gets posted on Friday, but there was a whole mess that happened last week, so I apologize if you were looking for it. We will get Fred Bernardo talking about the Weber Smoky Mountain introduction, the 22.5-inch, how that changed the game. Also, a 26-inch Weber kettle if you need it. But it didn't happen this past Friday, and it will happen this Friday. You have my word on it. And John gets paid nonetheless. Doesn't matter if I post it, if I don't post it, he gets paid religiously, automatically. He is doing his part of the thing. I did not do my part of the thing, and we will make sure that is rectified this coming Friday. So it is new content to you. I am recording this live.
We'll do it live.
But we are not doing it live. But we are doing it live. You won't hear anything edited. The mix-up that I had right in the beginning of the show that you'll hear, where we had an ID and it rolled back into the theme song. That was not supposed to happen. I'm not going to edit that out. And if I did edit it out, I'd have to edit all this stuff out too. I'm not going to do that. So this is live as it's happening. It was unedited. And here's what's going to be happening on the show this week. Coming up in about 11 minutes from now, it is the second Tuesday of a month. And while you would normally see him 35 past the first hour, we are going to slot him in the first interview segment or in the first hour. And that will be a visit from our pal Robert Moss. Okay, we've already done that. And there you go. Everybody loves Robert Moss. Everybody loves the knowledge and the teachings that Robert Moss bring. And tonight will be no different. Have a little extended time with Robert. And then once we're done with him, we will close out whatever is the balance of that first hour with some housekeeping items, some fan feedback from the show last week, all that fun stuff. And then we will move into the second hour of the show. You can't see the air quotes that I just did. Quarterly guest on the second Tuesday of every quarterly second Tuesday, our pal Mr. J from the Cigar Authority. Mr. Jonathan Barbeau is the government, but we know him as Mr. J, the Barbecue Central show's official cigar expert. He is a cigar expert, not just through this show, but he is one of the three, well, I don't know what they call it. his Cigar Authority podcast, or the Cigar Authority podcast, which he is a part of, you have two on-camera talent, that being a David Garofalo, founder of Two Guys and Cigar Authority, and then you would have, I guess, what you would consider to be the co-host, Mr. J. He's visible. But then there is a large speaking part during every show that I listen to every week, which is done by what I guess would be the technical producer of the show, Ed Sullivan. But again, he talks as much as a co-host would. You don't typically see that kind of participation from a producer. Not saying ever, but not typically. So Mr. J, co-host of the Cigar Authority, and he's been doing that almost as long as I've been doing this show, or I should say the Cigar Authority has been around almost as long as this show has, but I have it by a number of years and a number of overall releases. It's not a contest, but I'm winning. So that's how the show is going to play out here as we record it. And as we do it here, I'm doing it Monday night, 8:05 Eastern. Currently, now you might be wondering, why no show on Tuesday? Because it is the holiday season. So what whoop-de-doo and dickory dock, we're heading down to AK Rowdy, better known as Akron, the home of LeBron James. And we're taking in a theatrical performance of my wife's favorite Christmas movie and a lot of people's favorite Christmas movie, Elf. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out. I don't know if I have a high standard. When I think of Broadway-style plays, they take place in my hometown. They take place in Cleveland. Because maybe you didn't know it, but Cleveland has the second largest Broadway-type setting, second only to New York City, of course. Broadway, that's where it's from, 42nd Street and the like. But we pale only in comparison to that. So when I go to see Broadway quality shows, I typically don't have to go much further than 15 minutes in the westerly direction, directly west, by the way. To get to downtown, we go to Playhouse Square, and away we go. Pick your theater, pick your show, and it's guaranteed to be a banger. But instead, we are going down to Akron, to the theater that is very popular down there that I can't think of off the top of my head, and that is no disrespect to whatever theater that is. It almost came to me, but I forgot it as I tried to vamp and remember, but I'm just not going to remember. And we're going to see what kind of Elf presentation happens. Now, the following month, which will not preempt the show, we'll be back in Chicago, I believe getting there December 11th, and then have reservations at a number of the Christmas pop-up bars / restaurants, 12th and 13th, coming back on the 14th, Sunday, if I have those days right. And there's all sorts of fun and frivolity that'll be going on there at the Elfed Up bar, which just opened up this past weekend, so very excited. They'll be in full swing by the time we get there next month, almost a month from now. And a number of other places that we got reservations for. We got a reservation for dinner at Prime. Ocean Prime is the one that's in London House, which is the hotel we're staying at, right at the corner of East Wacker and Michigan. So right near the Miracle Mile. A lot of shopping is going to be done. A lot of looking is certainly going to be done. Maybe not a lot of shopping. Definitely a lot of looking, a lot of hijinks. So looking forward to doing that for the second year in a row. I would highly suggest, if you're somebody that's into the Christmas prop-up bar scene, you've never been to Chicago, and if you are a fan of Chicago, it's just a short Uber ride up to Wrigleyville, and there's a number of Christmas pop-up bars there. Some of them stay like that all year round. Some of them shut down for 2 weeks to get ready as they decorate for the impending holiday season when they become a pop-up bar. But we had such a great time last month. We're coming back. We had such a great time last year. We're going back this year. Now, I do have a fan email from our pal and barbecue realtor to the barbecue stars in Hawaii, Lance Owens, writing in off of the show last week. Damn it. I always try to log in and at least put in a vote on your YouTube poll question of the week, but I was in a meeting all day today. I head to Houston on Sunday for 10 days for a big next meeting, and we'll let you know if you've got any must-do barbecue places in Houston. Oh, let you know. Well, I'm just reading this now, Lance. Shame on me. number one. And yes, there's at least 2, maybe 3 brisket and rice, I believe, is a new one that Daniel Vaughn really likes. My favorite is Truth Barbecue, just a little bit north of town. There's also Blood Brothers, a little further west, Tomball, Texas. Gets you Tejas Chocolate, which is a banger. And then there's another one north, a little further north than where Truth is, a really good one that I'm also not going to remember the name of that barbecue restaurant, but I know it. Pinkerton's Barbecue, that's the one I was trying to think of. So plenty of top 10, top 50 barbecue locations in Houston, and it's a big city, plenty to do, plenty of great food. You're not going to want for anything there. And the city limits just seem to go on forever. Anyway, I'm listening to your show. I question on how much shoreline you have on Lake Erie versus how much shoreline I have in the Big Island of Hawaii. You kicked our ass with the shoreline from my island. The shoreline length of Lake Erie, including its islands, approximately 871 miles. Before I go any further, David Lee Roth is number one, no questions asked, not even a question. What the F kind of question is that? And you don't even mention that living those moments. True fans felt Van Halen sold out. They should have just named the band Van Hagar for moving forward. Come on. Thank you for your continued entertainment. You are the best. And see below for more fun facts. All right, so the shoreline of Lake Erie is numbering 871 miles. And the Big Island of Hawaii is in shoreline length in miles 266. So we're about 4 times bigger than that. By the way, as I look through your list, Lance, if you add up Hawaii, Maui, Oahu, Kauai, Molokai, Lanai, Kaioholawe, Nianahu, are those all the islands? The bottom ones I didn't probably pronounce right. All of those total 917 miles. So we almost beat total shoreline just here in the shoreline length of Lake Erie than we do all of Hawaii. So how about that? Number 2 in Broadway live entertainment, only to New York, and we are just barely a number 2 to complete shoreline versus all the Hawaiian Islands versus the shoreline of Great Lake Erie. Learning all sorts of great things, fun things, things you'll never get to know. This is trivia. Who has more shoreline, Lake Erie or the Big Island of Hawaii? Now you can confidently say it is Great Lake Erie. Not only are we teaching you about the fun of live fire, the benefits of live fire, how to teach other people live fire, how to cook better live fire, all of that, like we got that nailed down pretty good, but we are feeding you tidbits of trivia that you could use and just dazzle people with your smarts and other stuff. There is no YouTube poll question of the week this week because we're not doing it live, unfortunately.
We'll do it live.
No, not live, Bill. I said we're not doing it live. We're going to going forward for a little while with a would you rather, unless a topic of the show on a Tuesday night requires that we follow up with audience the following week with a YouTube poll question of the week. Other than that, we're going to be going with the would you rather. So I'm going to ask a question, and I will have either this answer or that answer that you can pick from. Change it up a little bit. For instance, would you rather be able to keep a record of your thoughts or your dreams while you sleep? And of course, I mean, would you be able to record? Would you rather be able to record your thoughts or your dreams while you sleep? Then you'll choose correspondingly with that answer. I mean, you get it. Anyway, thank you, Lance, and thank you for giving us a little bit of extra information there as well on shoreline of Great Lake Erie as it compares to the Big Island of Hawaii. Who knew we were that much bigger? All right, before we get to Robert Moss, I'll talk to you about the Smokin' Pecan Pellets. Are you looking for more smoke flavor out of your pellet cooker? Because let's be honest, sometimes it's more like a fancy oven. The Smoke lax a little bit in the pellet cookers. Do you want that stick burner flavor without the stick burner work? Who wouldn't? Look no further than the Smokin' Pecan pellets. Smokin' Pecan pellets are made out of 100% pecan shells. That's right. Nothing but pecan shells, no fillers, no binders, no artificial flavors. Your meat will thank you. Your wallet might also thank you after it realizes you're not paying for sawdust. Pecan pellets are a premium cooking pellet that burns hotter and lasts longer. That means pellet smoker will consume less pellets compared to most other pellet brands. More time to relax, less time refilling. Dare I say, practically a mini vacation. Their pecan shell pellets have a robust flavor that pairs well with a variety of meats, including beef, pork, chicken, fish. Even your weird Aunt Mildred, who only eats boiled chicken, might actually enjoy this. Pecan pellets, think of that. Get the smoke, burn the shells. Really, it's a lifestyle. Now, you want to save, of course you do. So when you go to smokinpecan.com, S-M-O-K-I-N, pecan, P-A-C-A-N, smokinpecan.com as you check out, you can enter in a promo code, and that code is BBQ Central. What does it get you? 10% off your order. Because who doesn't love a good discount, especially when it comes to delicious barbecue? Everybody does. Again, smokinpecan.com, S-M-O-K-I-N, P-E-C-A-N, smokinpecan.com, and then as you check out, promo code BBQ Central for 10% off every single time you order. And we're back with Robert Moss right after this. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. And this portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the wireless Fireboard Pulse. Did you know that when you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the world as long as they're connected? Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. My guest tonight, leading off, the contributing barbecue editor for Southern Living Magazine, a 2023 BBQ Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, and the reviver of something called the Q Sheet, which we're going to be talking a lot about tonight. Our pal Robert Moss. Hey, Robert. Are you on mute by chance?
I am not anymore.
All right, very
but
good.
I was.
Yes, you were. All right. So we don't have a YouTube poll question of the week, but we're going to throw this just as a tester. It's called Would You Rather? And the question is this: would you rather be able to record your thoughts or your dreams while you sleep?
Oof. The weird thing about I did have dreams and thoughts sort of merging together in my sleep, so I'm not sure which, like the actual waking world merges, and my dreams tend to be weird. So I think the thoughts probably more than the dreams.
All right. Well, 100% of us are agreeing that thoughts are probably what we would want to record between the two. So first of all, appreciate you joining me a night early as we pre-record here, so this will get released on Wednesday into the podcast feed, and we have some cigar talk coming up behind you, which will be released on Thursday. So, as I mentioned in the open, and first of all, I am here to tell you this: the relaunching of the Q Sheet has been nothing short of a live fire blessing for me and all the readers through the Substack. You are writing about anything and everything, and many items live fire related, of course, but not everything. Highly entertaining nonetheless. Did you see the Q Sheet, or did you see doing the Q Sheet this much as you were bringing it back to life?
I sort of plan to do it, and I think I've basically balanced it out. So so far I've been doing a Q sheet on Monday. So the Monday newsletter, it's just called the Robert F. Moss newsletter, but Substack gives you sections. So I have a section called the Q sheet, sort of reviving the old newsletter. I've been doing that basically on Mondays, once a week. And I was just sort of wanted to play it by ear and see how much material I had, but I've had plenty of material to churn out a newsletter every Monday. So that's pretty good. But I'm balancing it every Wednesday or Thursday. I'm doing something else. A lot of times it's something here in Charleston, and sometimes it's like the Michelin Guide, which isn't necessarily Charleston. It's just sort of food in general. So I'm trying to balance that out one way or another.
Are you surprised that you have this much to write about between the two items, or not so much?
Not so much. I have so much to write about. In fact, I have long lists of topics I haven't even touched upon yet. It's more the time to actually get it to a finished state and actually get it published. So it's been a shot in the arm, I think, to be able to have a little something to push me to get things done, which I've done so far.
Looks like we got a fan over your right-hand shoulder.
I know. I have my little poodle. That's Buddy the poodle in the
Buddy
background.
He
He is a very schedule specific dog, and is sitting here waiting for his dessert after dinner. He'll come in and out, but my wife's out of town, so I've got Buddy here. So I'll let him come in and out. Hopefully he won't make any noise.
What dessert does a dog eat these days?
Just whatever I'm eating, just crumbs from whatever I might, I might feed him at the end of the meal.
God, so lucky.
We had to cut it short tonight because we're doing a little premature Monday recording.
Did you jump the gun on barbecue scented deodorant?
What do you mean jump the gun? Write about it too soon, or just not do enough research, or
maybe all of that?
Yeah, so I don't think I did, because I wrote last week about barbecue scented deodorant, which I was wrong about, at least somewhat wrong about. I thought that Kingsford has come out with his promo where they're sending out press releases, and a bunch of doofus food writers are writing about their barbecue scented deodorant that smells like charcoal. Actually, I guess it's Progresso Soup that's doing the barbecue scented deodorant. I think who keep track, but it turns out because I published this thing in the Q sheet, I got a note from John Shelton Reed, who's a friend of the newsletter, informing me of something that he found like 25 years ago, a patent that I don't even know. I don't even know. This is a family show, Greg. I don't want to go too deep into the details of the patent, but apparently there have been some scientists out there who have done research into the effect of charcoal or barbecue flavored or scented deodorants on, let's just say, the women's sexual arousal. And go figure. Scientifically, they've proven that if you smell like a charcoal grill, it actually lowers the.
Really?
The rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shocking.
That's did we need to do research to tell you this? But apparently you do. So
I thought maybe barbecue scented deodorant was going to be the aphrodisiac. First little barbecue deodorant, then we get to the oysters on the half shell, and it's a lock from there.
Now, it turns out if you smell like a smoky charcoal grill, it's sort of a turnoff for ladies. And I only wonder how much of how many grant dollars it took to track that down. But I never would have discovered that patent application and all that research existed had I not jumped the gun and published the first one, because I don't know how John Shelton tracked that thing down.
Was that just an archive of patents that have been filed, or is that thing living and breathing right now?
Actually, the link that John sent me is from Google Patents, which is the online digitized version of the patent office. Unfortunately, fortunately, that patent has expired because they only last for so long. I think they last 20 years. Yep. So if anyone wants to go out and repatent that brilliant idea of using scents to either heighten or suppress sexual desire, then please go right ahead.
Which would be more successful at retail, barbecue deodorant or barbecue cologne? Similar but different.
Yes, define successful. I'm not really sure. I think it's the same basic idea.
Would you be more inclined, between the two to spend your own discretionary income on barbecue deodorant or barbecue cologne? And neither is not an answer.
Jeez. Okay. Well, if I had to pick, do you want? I would probably say deodorant. I guess because the whole point of cologne is to make you smell like something. Deodorant is to make you not smell like body odor, but also smell like something. If it's no, except for a unscented deodorant. So I think I'd rather at least suppress the body scent if I have to add on top of it, the charcoal.
A number of years ago, I don't know if you remember this or not. You remember what was then competition team and then business? I think they went on Shark Tank, and Barbara Corcoran had sponsored them. Pork Barrel Barbecue. Remember that name?
No, I do not.
Yeah. So a couple guys, I think they had spent a very limited amount of time as like clerks in Congress or some shit like that, and that's where the team name came from, Pork Barrel Barbecue. But they were a competition team. I don't know if I would call them overly successful by any stretch, but they got really adept at Twitter at the time. That was like the growing social media
back when
thing
Twitter was
back then.
new and exciting.
Yes,
yeah.
And they had accumulated tens of thousands of followers, and they really did and then they got onto Shark Tank, and then they kind of went into a different stratosphere, and they started doing all these unique things on social media, like Will It Burn, where they started up a Weber kettle grill, got it as hot as it would go, and then they were burning iPads at the time to see if it would burn, or this item or that item, all gimmick stuff that they certainly copped to. And then one of the holiday seasons, they came out with something, and I'll never forget it, called Q Cologne. And they were very passionate about how, unlike all of the other things that they did, which were gimmicks, this was the real deal. This was going to change everything, and I was offered an advance sample before I had these guys on the show, and I'm telling you, Robert, it was one of the worst things I've ever smelled in my life, and I wore it.
So does it smell like meat or the pit, what does puke smell, or just
like best attempt would be smoke with some background sweetness. No meat or anything like that, but I think it was the essence of the flame, if you will. And boy, did it miss by 15 or 20 miles. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's really not maybe I'm just not a fan. There's a lot of things that you could smell that I might not find particularly enjoyable, and of course, vice versa. So I wore it to work one day, and they made me leave halfway through and said, figure something else out. You can't come back if you even smell like this a little bit. And so I had reached out to Heath and his partner, and I said, look, I don't know if you played a trick on me or whatever, but I wore it to work. Everybody said it was the worst thing ever, and never come back like that. And they stuck with their guns, said, no, this is the real deal, and you're just probably one of the few that aren't going to like it. And then I don't know if it was last year or the year before, Andy Husbands of the Smoke Shop, barbecue fame up there in the Northeast. I don't know if you're familiar with that place or not.
No, yeah, sure am.
Sure, okay. He also came out with some kind of barbecue scented cologne, and also, lucky me, got an advanced sample, and this one was not in like full retail bottle. Like Pork Barrel went to market with it, and they had like a little atomizer, probably testing the market. And I said, look, I'm going to smell it. And I just sniffed the bottle. It was worse than Q Cologne. And then I held up a white paper towel and I sprayed it on there. And it stained the paper towel. I'm like, well, thank God I didn't spray it on my person, because I'd be stained like dark brown, orange, dark orange, whatever. And then smell really bad on top of it. So not only did it smell bad, it would have marked me. And I wrote back to Andy and I said, look, stick to the spicy nuts that you guys sell and the great barbecue sauces and all that for retail. Ditch the cologne. But in my years of archiving what's happened in barbecue over the last 20 years, the two efforts of cologne failing miserably. So I don't know about you, but I'm suggesting nobody else try and pick it up. It's not the market.
Yeah, for sure. I was really surprised that someone tried this crap 25 years ago, and that we keep trying it. I mean, come on, what's really going to happen here? So, I think it's a bad idea. Let's let it die a peaceful death.
Have we ever talked about brisket jumping the shark?
Yes, and
was that an embedded correspondent question?
Yeah, I think what happened was it was an embedded correspondence question. So I wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
And you asked about it, but you quoted me on saying brisket jumped the shark. And I listened to the episode. I was like, when the heck did I say that? And I went back and realized, actually just a couple months before you said it, I had written this piece for Southern Living doing my predictions for 2025. And then I remembered, I've actually made that prediction multiple times. So I have predicted on basically every year. And I don't know why I keep forgetting this. The brisket 2023 is going to be the year that brisket jumps the shark. 2024 is going to be the year, and now I think I said in this last one, surely 2025 is going to be the year that brisket jumps the shark. Brisket fever breaks, and suddenly everybody wants to go eat, whatever else, ribs or whole hog or lamb or something exciting like that.
In the article I just read, you used the phrase "the tracking in real time" of brisket jumping the shark. Yes. And I'm like, well, obviously Robert doesn't have any idea what jump the shark means, because I can just look around and everybody is still clamoring for brisket. And if you make a great pork butt, nobody gives a shit. And if you make a great brisket, everybody thinks you're the barbecue king of the cul-de-sac or the neighborhood or whatever. And I, as much as it pains me to say for your sake, Robert, from the Carolinas, I don't think you have even a 10-year window of people getting sick of eating brisket, as previous years have proven brisket remains king, and I don't even know if it's close.
Well, I will. If you could look at the Southern Living thing that I did back at the beginning of the year, it was a little tongue-in-cheek, and I said basically, surely this will be the year that brisket will jump the shark. So it's a little bit wishful thinking, a little bit hopeful. However, I feel like at some point it's got to break, right? It wasn't like America was gripped by brisket fever in 1932. It wasn't. No one was cooking brisket in any barbecue restaurant. So at some point it's got to stop. But a couple of data points. So the piece I'm doing in the Q sheet or in the Robert F. Moss newsletter in the Q sheet section of Burn Ends is basically identifying all these Texas style barbecue restaurants that are opening in wonderful food courts in malls across America, Massachusetts, I think it is Michigan, Cincinnati, Ohio. So everywhere, if you want a concept, you're going to go make Texas style brisket in the mall, which to me has got to be a sign of something sort of, it's like when your parents joined Facebook, right? Did Facebook, it's sort of like over the edge of over the hill of being cool. I do. On a more serious note, Facebook, I know that it's cutting edge, right? Just like, if you're not ready for Twitter, Facebook is the place for you.
I think if you're 40 and over, maybe 45, that's all you're familiar with. You're not on Instagram. You're not on Twitter. You're on Facebook. I think Facebook is still as popular as it ever was. Not for the youth, but for Gen X and up. No. Like it's. I would rather not be on Twitter. I would rather be on Facebook because my audience reach is going to be better there. I mean, look, I'm 51 years old, a fresh 51.
Yeah, so I think
shocking. But I mean, that's my demo and up. I mean, that's where I was at. I think it's still highly viable, and I don't think it's going anywhere in the short term. For sure.
No time soon. CBS is still around, so lots of people watch that every night. But it's still minting money over there. But it's not really at the cutting edge of the trends. But anyway, I'm just making fun of brisket being in malls and things like that. But I think on a serious note, the price of beef is sky high. Brisket is very expensive and going up and up and up. And I've got a piece queued up for the newsletter. I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet because there's so much sort of current event stuff going on. But I've been interviewing every pitmaster I talk to, or when I interview them, I ask them just quickly about price of brisket, what you're doing about it. And, people are having to adopt strategies because of the price of it. They're not making money off of it, but it's expected. But it wants it. Everyone's trying to do something new. You're seeing a lot of different types of cuts of beef, and you're seeing. I just wrote a piece about lamb that will come out in probably a couple of weeks in a print magazine. But people are looking around, looking for the next thing. As a pet master, to differentiate themselves from brisket, because brisket sort of became sort of like ribs were. It's sort of, everyone has it. It's table stakes, but in this case, it's something you can't make a ton of money off of. So on a serious note, I think at some point, the economics of brisket are not going to keep working for pit masters. And then just on the trend side of things, I think people will at some point get interested in other things and we'll move on. Now, I've been saying that for years and it hasn't happened yet. So yeah, we may be having this conversation 5 years from now. Where I'm saying any day, surely 2030 is the year that brisket jumps the shark.
Do you think pricing is going to relieve itself at some point, or like where we're at, it's not going to be? It could get higher, but it's not going to be any lower than where we're at.
What I've read is that a lot of what's happening right now is actually related to drought and grass and the cost of feeding cattle sort of put a limit on herds. But now that the price has really gone up, that, when the price goes up, people are incentivized to raise more cattle. But it takes a couple of years, from the time you have you bring more, bring more heifers or whatever, or more calves, I should say. And then they get to the age where they can have babies and you can sell them. So I think that, supply and demand will ease out at some point, but I do think that it's possible, and I don't think it's guaranteed, but I think it's possible that, people may shift away from brisket at a certain point. I mean, right now brisket is going for $32 to $38 a pound at most craft barbecue joints, and that's a lot of damn money to be spending for a plate of barbecue. And at some point, I think people may start ordering other things and discovering they like it just as much as brisket.
Do you think you're going to see brisket come off of menus? Why not force people to try something new by not having what you're going for?
Yeah,
right?
You could do that. I'm trying to think. I don't want to name names because it was off the record, but some of the pit masters I talked about are doing things like limiting the number of briskets they buy and they're cooking, because basically they want to have some for the people who insist upon it, but they will put a high price on it. And when they're sold out, they're sold out. So I think you may see, that maybe over time, you get to your barbecue joint, either brisket sold out or it's $40 a pound, and you're like, oh, but the whatever this interesting thing is over here is only $28 a pound or $12 a pound. So I think you may see some shifting there, but I really don't know. I can't read the tea leaves on that one. I just know that the demand has not, despite all my wishful thinking, demand has not really declined among barbecue diners, but the price pressure goes up and up and up, and at some point something's got to give.
You hold on one second. We'll come back and We'll talk about the Michelin star stuff.
All right.
I'm sure everybody's excited about that. We're talking with Robert Moss here, of course, and we'll be right back with him. But first, I will talk to you about Primo Grills, because what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We also love that you can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. And a Primo and their game-changing oval design, the shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire, also giving you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. And when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Of course, they have all the accessories you need to complete that Primo grill experience, and only sold through dealers, so you got to find one near you. If you don't know how to do that, go to primogrill.com and use the dealer locator, and then visit them in person. Buy the Primo that best fits your needs. I'm always recommending at least the XL. Nobody ever got buyer's remorse because they went too big. Always when they bought too small, and you only knew that until you actually make the purchase, get it home, and go, oh, I should have brought bigger. Don't do that. Get the extra large or the extra large, 25% bigger. PrimoGrill.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. They have a pretty unique contest going on over on social media as well. So check them out on Instagram, I believe, and see what that contest is all about. And if you're interested, enter there. We're back with more Robert Moss right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we welcome you back. Portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker. The most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a pro. It's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. And we are joined by Robert Moss, of course. So I'm going to end up asking you the questions that you openly asked prior to the Michelin star stuff. And then, of course, you can go ahead and answer it. And if you've read about this already, maybe he'll drop some audio nuggets that he didn't write about through the pen and paper or the keyboard or whatever you want to say. So the first question that you asked, and I don't know if we need to set this up properly or not. But
I'll just say that I went to longtime listeners of the Barbecue Central Show will be sick and tired of hearing Greg and I talk about the Michelin Guide. But the Michelin Guide American South, which we talked about a couple times on the show already, came out, and they had their big launch ceremony a week ago yesterday, up in Greenville, South Carolina, my old hometown. And I got invited up on a press pass. I went up and hung out and went to the ceremony. So in advance of doing that, I think I was on Saturday, in the newsletter, I wrote a little piece, which was 7 questions I have in advance of the Michelin Guide ceremony. The things I didn't know the answer to, I asked them, and then later, a couple days after, I did another newsletter piece answering the questions. So that's, I think, what we're talking about here.
First question, will any of the starred restaurants serve a distinctly Southern menu?
Yeah, this was an interesting one because it is the Michelin Guide American South. You think you'd have a bunch of Southern things, and the guide sort of played up the fact that, we're doing the American South, which is actually the first time they've done a region as opposed to just Atlanta or Texas, a state or a city. And this is going to let them cover the South and all the glorious traditions of Southern cuisine. And the answer is no, not really. I sort of predicted going in that, if you look at the other guides, the Michelin inspectors have sort of their preferred cuisine. It's what I would sort of call contemporary, international, cosmopolitan type cuisine. If you look at what they wrote about, what they were praising, there's only a handful of things that they've talked about. They're really Southern dishes in any way, shape, or form. It's much more just fine dining, which is actually fine with me. If you say the Michelin Guide's about fine dining and where can you go in the American South and go to sort of, these high-end, fancy international cuisine restaurants, then that's a great guide. But if you're talking about, exploring the traditions of the American South and all its culinary glory, not so much.
If I asked you to name a strict Southern dish, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Southern cooking?
Well, I mean, you could talk about Southern dishes, right? And you think about things like fried chicken or anything, cornbread in particular, all the sort of down-home things, black-eyed peas or field peas, things like that, which is one way to look at it. But I wouldn't expect necessarily a Michelin Guide to be just going to the, Meat and Three on the corner that has good old country cooking. But there is a long history in this in Southern fine dining, going back till really back to the 1980s, of chefs sort of taking French techniques and sort of the high end cuisine, but using Southern ingredients. So things like okra, things like black-eyed peas, things like quail, bacon, things that you wouldn't necessarily find on a French menu, but are very closely associated with the South, but then doing them in fine dining ways. And that was something that was, I think, conspicuously absent, was any of the things like that you would expect to see if you're talking about a fusion of Southern traditions and fine dining.
I'm going to go with 0 on the second question as my guess, because I didn't read this in advance. How many starred restaurants will serve Japanese cuisine? I don't necessarily correlate Japanese and the South as even being anywhere near each other, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I sort of looked at the other guides when I was doing my prediction and noticed that, if you look at the cuisine, lots of the restaurants in Texas, in Florida, and elsewhere, or in Colorado, are Japanese. And the answer is 4. Four of the 20, four of the 18 restaurants in the South that have a star are Japanese, and there's a 5th that is categorized by Michelin as contemporary, but they describe it as being Japanese influenced. So that style, sushi, sort of high end, plus sort of high end Japanese fine dining, is very much in line with, I think, the Michelin aesthetic. And there's quite a lot of, apparently, you come to the South and you eat some Japanese food.
Interesting. Will any classic Creole restaurants make the cut?
So this was something I wondered about New Orleans, because if you think about New Orleans, and New Orleans is one of the few cities in America as a whole, but particularly in the South, that has had this continuity of cuisine that goes back to the 19th century. And you've got restaurants in New Orleans today that are over 100 years old and have been operating ever since. You've got Antoine's, you got Galatoire's, you got Commander's Palace, you got Orneau's. Would any of those classic Creole, century-old restaurants, get a star or even make the guide? Or would it? New Orleans also has a lot of newer fine dining restaurants, which are more in that sort of cosmopolitan, in international mode. Where would Michelin land? The answer was 0 classic Creole restaurants, ones that are older than 100 years old, or any of those ones I mentioned, got a star. Only one, Galatoire's, made it into the guide at all. So the guide is basically, here's the recommended restaurants, and then you get within that the Bib Gourmand, which are the economical restaurants, the ones who give you a really good meal for a good price, which is sort of a one category, and then you start getting to the stars. So 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars. So there were none of the old school 100-year-old New Orleans restaurants were considered worth a visit, according to worth a stop according to the Michelin guide, and Galatoire's was worth including, but the rest of them didn't make it into the guidebook.
Can a restaurant?
But there's an exception there, which we'll probably get to as we get to the end of this.
Can a restaurant get 3 stars off the rip, or do you have to earn those in successive trials, or how does that work?
No, there's no. I mean, I don't know I don't know what behind the scenes the rules are, but there's no explicit rule about that. About the fact that you should be able to get 3 stars if you, let's say you had some fantastic high end restaurant that's knocking it out of the park in the South, and Michelin comes and does a guide for the first time. Well, yeah, sure, they should be able to get 3 stars. So I don't think there's a rule like you have to be in, you have to get your 1 star, and then you have to work your way up to 2, etc.
What about barbecue? Anybody knock them down for stars?
No stars in the American South for barbecue. So wow. Texas has got 4.
Yeah, right.
1-star barbecue joints. None in the South.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. So I guess we just can't hang in the rest of the South, because I will include Texas in the South. But no stars. There were 10 barbecue restaurants that made it into the guide altogether. I think 6 of them got the Bib Gourmand designation, which means good food for an affordable price. And then 4 others just sort of made it into the general guide as a recommended restaurant.
What's an affordable price, or does it depend on restaurant?
No, actually, it is defined. They have a 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 star $4 designation of the categories. And the $2 sign, which is to get the bib gourmand, you have to be either $1 sign, $2 signs, is $50 or less for a meal, basically, not including your drink. So, not including your wine or your cocktail, or whatever you want to drink at a barbecue joint. So, most barbecue joints, I think, certainly I can drop more than $50 easily at especially a craft barbecue joint, but you could certainly get in and out of a barbecue joint for under $50. Even the expensive ones, if you go for, if you don't just go overboard on the meat.
Will anyone wonder why Virginia and Savannah have no restaurants in the guide?
No, surprisingly, not a lot of people really did. This is something I was sort of curious about, because you and I have talked probably, ad nauseum, as far as the listeners are concerned, about the details behind the scenes and the money exchanging hands, and the fact that the Michelin Guide American South didn't show up. They didn't just say, "Hey, the South is something we really want to cover." It was paid for by Travel South, which is sort of an umbrella travel organization that is in turn, sponsored or paid for by all the state travel agencies, these state government entities that are, trying to recruit. And then all the individual cities have their visitor and convention boards and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of money was ponied up, close to $5 million for the 3-year, the 3-year tenure, with lots of local tourism boards ponying up or kicking in money for that. Virginia said, no, we're not going to do that. It's too expensive. Their tourist board looked at it and said, no thanks, but no thanks. So they declined to pay, and so they're not in the guide. And then I never quite got the full story, but only in the state of Georgia, only Atlanta restaurants are in the guide. Atlanta had an existing deal with Michelin for their Atlanta Michelin Guide. For whatever reason, the Atlanta Guide got rolled into the American South, but no other place in Georgia was included. I think I read a couple places Atlanta may have had some kind of no-compete or exclusivity deal, so that Savannah, which has some great restaurants, is not eligible. So only Atlanta in the state of Georgia will be included in the guide. Now, you and I know all this because we've been talking about it for quite a while. I was surprised when I was up at the ceremonies, and of course there's the ceremony itself and you sort of party beforehand. But then the real fun is after the ceremony. There are all these after parties. They're sort of broken up by state, where restaurants on Main Street in Greenville were sort of hosting after parties for all the chefs and all the participants, and that's where all the real fun and chatting goes. Everyone sort of knows that there's money behind it, and that the convention bureaus are paying for it, but they don't really know the details. And I don't think I ever heard anybody mention Savannah or Virginia. I just don't think it was on their radar screen. But there may have been a few other things that were another controversy that may have been preoccupying everybody more than that.
Can an American South restaurant earn more than 1 star?
Well, I didn't think it would. And so here is where I need to eat a little crow and say I was overly skeptical just based on past performance. I don't think Atlanta had a 2-star. They still don't have a 2-star. Florida got one eventually, but I don't think they had one with their first guide. But I was wrong. There is a single restaurant in the South that has 2 stars, and that's Emeril's in New Orleans, which is Emeril Lagasse's restaurant, 35 years old. It was sort of where Emeril, it's his flagship, where he sort of made his name many, many moons ago. But it's been taken over by his son, E.J. Lagasse, who's quite young. He's, I think, 21, 22 years old now. Wow. And it was quite a coup because E.J. got the Young Chef Award, which sort of Michelin gives to the best young chef in the region. So he got that. And then they brought Emeril up on stage and made a big deal, and turned around and Emeril's got 2 stars. So American South restaurant can get 2 stars. It was Emeril's, and it's a little bit of a asterisk to everything I was saying about Southern restaurants and everything else, because yes, Emeril's is a fine dining restaurant, but it is very much in that New Orleans tradition. They're serving gumbo. They're serving, you think of all your classic, your New Orleans dishes, your red beans and rices, your etouffees. They're doing all that type of cooking, but they're putting a fine dining twist on everything else. So it's very much something you would not find a restaurant like that, just anywhere else in the country. It can only really be in New Orleans. So that is probably for me the redeeming thing for the whole ceremony was Emeril's getting a nod and it being something that's truly Southern and not something that you could just go to California and find the same thing.
Am I missing one more question?
I think you got all of them. But you worked the $50 one, which is number 7. It implied number 7.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you answered number 7 somewhere in the middle of the other ones. But you didn't ask me about the other controversy.
Oh, what is it?
Which was not the money behind the scenes. So if you not heard about the little premature
yes.
launch.
So let me ask you this. Can we name the person that prematurely released the winners? Does his name rhyme with famous Dave Anderson?
It's exactly the kind of thing you might expect out of Famous Dave, but no, I do not think Famous Dave had anything to do with it. But I can't tell you the number of times I was thinking about that when
you remember that, right?
As I found out. Oh, absolutely remember that. Yeah, so we're trying to do the Barbecue Hall of Fame announcements. Yeah, so almost the same thing, except that this one I think I know the reason for it. So I'm in the car driving up to Greenville. Everyone's on the way. All the chefs and everybody have been invited. And it's on a Monday because that's like the low day. Most restaurants are closed on Monday, at least fine dining restaurants. That's like probably the lowest day. So they do the ceremony then so everybody can come in with their crew and everything else. So everybody's on the way up. And all of a sudden I see something on my phone while I'm driving up the freeway saying that Emerald's wins 2 stars at Michelin. I'm like, well, I'm not even there yet. So what happened? So somebody at Michelin posted a press release sometime in the morning. I think the post time actually on the release I saw was 9:30 a.m. announcing all the winners, but it was announced in past tense. It was like the Michelin Guide announced tonight that here's who won. So all of a sudden, everybody's phones are lighting up and everything else. I'm not sure who found it first, but some outlet found it, posted it online, tweeted it, Instagrammed it out, and suddenly everybody knew. So we all knew by between noon and 2:00 in the afternoon, every single person who won and everything else. So the ceremony was a bit anticlimactic. It was like in retrospect, it was not that big of a deal because the whole point is to celebrate the winners and everything else. But boy, did it sure took a lot of the suspense out of the ceremony since we all knew going in that Emerald's was going to get 2 stars and we all knew who did it. My favorite story from that is there's 3 restaurants in Charleston that got a single star. So it's three 1-star restaurants from Charleston. 2 of them are Malagon, which is sort of a Spanish tapas kind of place, and Vern's, which is this great sort of contemporary American restaurant. Husband and wife teams for both. They happened to be carpooling up together. So the 4 of them were in a single car going up when all of a sudden their phones started blowing up with everybody and saying, hey, you got 1 star. And I was like, there's probably 20, 30 other restaurateurs and chefs from Charleston who were invited because people would get invited to the ceremony just knowing you're somehow in the guide, but not knowing who got what.
For sure.
And so my favorite thing is just, can you imagine how awkward that ride would have been if they had carpooled with any of the other chefs, and they were sitting there like
insane. Wow.
So fortunately, the 2 of them, both of them got a star, and they could sort of. They said it was very weird, but they could celebrate on the drive up.
Well, weird certainly is a word for it, and that's what happens when you choose AM instead of PM. Believe me, it throws everything off. 12 hours.
Well, now, if you remember, in France and Europe, they tend to use the 24-hour clock. So if you had said post that at 9:30, which would have been right after the ceremony was supposed to be over, then if you took it literally said 9:30 and posted at 9:30 a.m., then I was just following instructions. You should have said 21:30 if you wanted it.
That's right.
After the ceremony.
Or if you want to be super accurate, you can go on Zulu time. But who knows how to do that?
No idea.
Yeah. This is Robert Moss. You can find him over at robertfmoss.com. You can subscribe to the Q Sheet, of course, and you can find him on our show once a month, second Tuesday, typically 35 past the hour, but doing it in advance here, which we certainly appreciate this month. Robert, always appreciate the time, and we will see you in December.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
You got it. Robert Moss, classic as always. I mean, at least somebody getting their highly confidential and exclusive results puked out before it actually happened on your show. I'm not the only one that happened to. Thank goodness. That took something like the Michelin Star Awards to also feel the pain that I did when semi-famous Dave Anderson puked out Who Made It Into the Barbecue Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. Like 15 to 20 minutes before we went live and did it with the people from the American Royal. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Thought about canceling the show. I said, nope, we're going to go ahead. We're going to gut through it. No problem. And we did. It was fine, but everybody's like, why do it? Everybody already knows. It's already made the rounds in 20 minutes. Everybody was waiting. Well, that's what happens when you got loose lips. All right, we will wrap up this first hour, and we will point to the second hour here shortly. And we will do that right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we welcome you back, and we thank Robert Moss for joining us. Again, robertfmoss.com, his website. You can follow him on social media, and I would say subscribe to the Q Sheet and the other thing that he's writing as well. Great writer. Always learn something. All right, that's going to bring a close to the Wednesday edition of the show. We're going to hit up the Thursday edition here in just a few short moments. I would say normally refresh your libations as we head to the second hour, so in case you have something to drink that's running low right now, refresh that. And we'll be back with some quarterly cigar talk with Mr. Jonathan from the Cigar Authority and Two Guys Cigars. Stick around. We'll be right back.